When a quiet waitress disarms three armed men in seconds, a crime boss realizes her calm isn't courage, it's training. But the robbery was never random. Someone's been hunting her across continents, and tonight, they found her. If you want to see how far her past will chase her, stick around until the end. And drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The thing about Manhattan on a Tuesday night is that nobody expects violence. Not in a place like Aurelius, where the wine list costs more than most people's rent and the chandelier overhead probably has its own insurance policy. The kind of restaurant where power brokers whisper deals over truffle risotto and celebrities hide behind menus thick as novels. Lena Voss had worked there for 8 months, long enough to memorize the regulars, short enough that nobody really knew her. She preferred it that way. She moved through the dining room with the efficiency of someone who'd learned to be invisible, refilling water glasses, clearing plates, smiling just enough to be polite but not enough to invite conversation. Her dark hair stayed pulled back tight. Her uniform stayed pressed. Her eyes stayed down, except when they didn't. Adrian Volkov noticed that first. He'd taken the corner table, always the corner table, because it gave him a view of both entrances and kept his back to the wall. Old habit, the kind you don't break when you've made the enemies he had. He wasn't there for the food. He was there because Aurelius sat in neutral territory, and neutral territory meant he could meet with people who wouldn't normally be caught dead in the same borough as him. Tonight, it was a shipping contractor with ties to the Bratva. The conversation had been going nowhere for 20 minutes. But he'd been watching the waitress. She'd passed his table 4 times. Each time, her eyes had flickered, just for a second, toward the front entrance. Not the casual glance of someone checking if new customers were arriving. Something sharper, more deliberate, like she was counting exits. Adrian had been in this business long enough to recognize a tell when he saw one, and Lena Voss had them in spades. The way she positioned herself, the way she never fully turned her back to the room, the way her hands stayed loose at her sides, never gripping anything tight enough to slow her down. "You listening to me?" The contractor, Victor something, leaned forward, irritation creasing his face. Adrian picked up his whiskey. "You were explaining why your shipment's 3 weeks late." "Not late. Delayed. There's a difference." "Not to the people waiting for it." Victor's jaw tightened. He was a thick man, all shoulders and neck, the kind who'd probably been useful muscle before someone gave him a desk. "Look, Volkov, if you don't like how I run my operation, I don't." The words landed flat. Victor blinked. Adrian set down his glass. "But I'm not here to debate your competence. I'm here because you owe Constantine money, and Constantine's patience has limits. I'll have it by, Friday." Victor's mouth opened, closed. "That's 2 days." "Good math. That's not enough time to—" "Then I suggest you work fast." The front door opened. Adrian's attention shifted, not obviously, just a fraction of a degree. 3 men stepped inside. Young, early 20s, wearing jackets too heavy for the weather. They didn't look at the host station, didn't wait to be seated, just spread out, smooth and practiced, like they'd rehearsed it. The one in front pulled a gun. "Everybody stay calm." It wasn't a shout. That was the part that made it worse. Too controlled, too flat. This wasn't panic, this was procedure. The dining room froze. Forks clattered against plates. Someone's wine glass tipped over, red spreading across white linen like a slow bleed. The second man moved toward the bar. The third started down the line of tables, pulling out a black duffel bag. "Wallets, phones, jewelry. Make it easy." Adrian didn't move. His hand stayed on the table, fingers drumming once against the wood. Victor had gone pale, sweat beading at his temples. "Volkov, we should be quiet." Because Adrian wasn't watching the gunman. He was watching Lena. She'd been near the kitchen when they came in. Now she stood perfectly still beside table 7, a water pitcher in her left hand. Most of the staff had ducked behind the bar or frozen in place. But not her. Her breathing hadn't changed. Her posture hadn't shifted. She just stood there, weight balanced, head slightly tilted, listening. The lead gunman moved deeper into the room, sweeping his weapon in a lazy arc. "I said wallets. Don't make me ask twice." People started fumbling, hands shaking. A woman near the window was crying, mascara streaking down her face. The man across from her had his hands up, stammering something about his watch being a family heirloom. The gunman didn't care. But as he turned toward the back of the room, his eyes locked onto something. Or someone. His step hitched, just for a second. Then his grip tightened on the gun and he angled toward Lena's position. You. Come here. Lena didn't move. I said, come here. She set down the water pitcher, slowly, deliberately. Then she straightened, and for the first time all night, she looked directly at him. Adrian saw it then. The shift. The mask slipping just enough to show what was underneath. She wasn't afraid. The gunman saw it too. His expression changed, confusion flickering into something harder. Don't be stupid, he said. Just get over here. Lena took a step forward, then another. Her hands stayed at her sides. Her pace stayed even. The gunman lowered his weapon slightly, impatient. Faster! She moved faster, and then she was on him. It happened in the space between heartbeats. 1 second she was 3 feet away. The next her hand was clamped around his wrist, twisting, and the gun was clattering to the floor. He tried to pull back. She drove her knee into his ribs, used his own momentum to send him sprawling into a table. China shattered. A woman screamed. The second gunman spun toward her, raising his weapon. Lena grabbed a chair and threw it. Not wild, not panicked, precise. It hit him square in the chest, and he stumbled back into the bar. She closed the distance before he could recover, caught his arm, and slammed his hand against the brass rail. The gun dropped. She swept his legs out from under him, and he went down hard, skull cracking against the floor. The third man was already moving, swinging the duffel bag at her head. Lena ducked, came up inside his reach, and drove her elbow into his throat. He made a wet choking sound and staggered. She hooked his ankle and dropped him. Then she was on top of him, forearm pressed against his windpipe, her voice low and cold. Stay down. He stayed down. The whole thing had taken maybe 8 seconds. The dining room was silent except for ragged breathing and the distant wail of a car alarm outside. Lena stood slowly, brushing glass off her uniform. Her hands weren't shaking, her breathing was controlled. She looked around the room like she was cataloging damage. Then her eyes landed on Adrian. For a moment, they just stared at each other. He leaned back in his chair, one hand still resting on his whiskey glass. His expression gave away nothing, but inside his mind was moving fast, cataloging, calculating. That wasn't self-defense, that was training, high-level training, the kind you didn't get from a weekend self-defense class or a YouTube video. She'd moved like someone who'd done this before. Someone who knew exactly how much force to use and where to apply it. Someone who'd been forged by necessity. Sirens cut through the silence. Close. Getting closer. Lena's head turned toward the sound. Then, without a word, she walked toward the kitchen. Hey, wait. One of the customers, a man in a suit who'd spent the whole attack under his table, stumbled forward. Shouldn't you stay? The police will want to... She pushed through the kitchen doors and disappeared. Adrian stood. Victor looked up at him, still pale. Where are you going? Checking something. The cops are, let them come. He moved through the dining room, stepping over broken glass and upturned chairs. A few people tried to thank him, though he had no idea why. He hadn't done anything. He just watched. The kitchen was chaos. Cooks shouting, pots boiling over. The manager, a thin man with sweat stains under his arms, was yelling into a phone about liability and insurance. No sign of Lena. Adrian walked past the prep stations, past the walk-in freezer, toward the back exit. The door was propped open with a brick. He stepped into the alley. Empty. Just dumpsters and steam rising from a vent, the sound of traffic filtering in from the street beyond. He lit a cigarette, leaning against the brick wall. His phone buzzed. He ignored it. Overhead, the sky was that ugly orange color cities get at night, light pollution drowning out the stars. She was gone, but she'd be back. People like her always came back, not because they wanted to, because they had to. Because whatever they were running from didn't stop just because you changed cities. He knew that pattern. He'd seen it enough times. Hell, he'd lived it. The question was, what was she running from? And more importantly, who sent those men? Because Adrian had been in enough shakedowns to recognize the real thing. This wasn't some crew looking for quick cash. Those men had moved with purpose. They'd spread out to cover exits. They'd stayed calm under pressure, and the lead gunman had looked directly at Lena before things went sideways, like he'd been looking for her. Adrian took a long drag on his cigarette, smoke curling into the night. This wasn't random. 2 days later, Lena showed up for her shift like nothing had happened. Adrian had come back to Aurelia specifically to see if she would. He sat at the same corner table, ordered the same whiskey, and waited. She walked in at 5:30, tied her apron, and started setting tables. The manager, still sweating, still stressed, pulled her aside near the bar. Adrian couldn't hear the conversation, but he could read the body language. The manager was animated, gesturing toward the dining room, probably asking her about the police report or the insurance claim, or any of the dozen bureaucratic nightmares that came with 3 unconscious armed robbers. Lena just nodded, answered in short sentences, then went back to work. Adrian watched her move through the room, same efficiency, same quiet precision, like she'd filed the whole incident under handled and moved on. But he saw the tells now. The way she checked the exits every few minutes. The way she positioned herself near the kitchen door, ready to move. The way her eyes tracked every new person who walked in. She was waiting for something, or someone. When she finally made her way to his table, she didn't look surprised to see him. "Water?" she asked. "Whiskey's fine." She nodded, started to turn away. "You handled yourself well the other night." She paused, didn't turn back. "I got lucky." "That wasn't luck." Now she did turn. Her expression was carefully neutral. "Is there something you need?" "Just making an observation." "Observing what?" "That you're very good at what you do." He gestured toward the dining room. "This. Plain and visible. But you're better at the other thing." Her jaw tightened. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you do." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The noise of the restaurant filled the space. Clinking glasses, low conversations, the hiss of something searing in the kitchen. "I'm just a waitress," Lena said quietly. "No," Adrian said. "You're not." She held his gaze. He could see her weighing options, calculating, deciding how much danger he represented. Finally, she leaned in slightly, close enough that her voice wouldn't carry. "Let it go." "Can't do that." "Why not?" "Because those men weren't here for the money. They were here for you." Her expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Confirmation. "You're wrong," she said. "I'm really not." "Even if you were, it's none of your business." "It became my business when it happened in front of me." "You don't know me." "No," Adrian agreed, "but I know the pattern. I know what it looks like when someone's running. And I know what it looks like when the thing they're running from catches up." Lena's hand tightened around her order pad. "I don't need your help." "Didn't say you did." "Then what do you want?" Good question. Adrian finished his whiskey, set the glass down gently. "Information, starting with your real name." "It's Lena Voss." "Try again." She stared at him. He could see the gears turning. She was good at this, at building walls, at deflecting. But she was also tired. He could see it now, the kind of tired that comes from months or years of looking over your shoulder. "Walk away," she said finally. "Whatever you think you know, whatever you think you're doing, just walk away." "And if I don't?" "Then you're making a mistake." Adrian smiled. Not warm, just the ghost of something that might have been amusement in a different life. "Wouldn't be my first." She turned and walked away. Didn't look back. Adrian sat there for another 20 minutes, nursing a second whiskey he didn't really want. Around him, the restaurant hummed along. Normal, ordinary. Like the world hadn't tilted sideways 2 nights ago. But it had. And Adrian Volkov had never been good at letting things go. He made a call on his way out of the restaurant. "Dmitri, I need you to pull everything you can on someone." "Name?" "Lena Voss. Works at Aurelius on West 57th. Started about 8 months ago." "What am I looking for?" "Gaps, inconsistencies, anything that doesn't line up." There was a pause on the other end. Dmitri had worked for Adrian for 6 years. He knew better than to ask too many questions. "How deep?" "As deep as it goes." "Time frame?" "Yesterday," Dmitri sighed. "You know I have other—" "Yesterday, Dmitri." "Fine. I'll call you when I have something." Adrian hung up and flagged down a cab. The driver was listening to talk radio, some heated argument about city council budget cuts. Adrian tuned it out. He stared out the window as the city slid past. Neon signs, food carts, clusters of people laughing outside bars. Somewhere in this city, Lena Voss, or whoever she really was, had built a life. A small one. Quiet. The kind designed not to attract attention, but someone had found her anyway. And Adrian was going to find out who. Dmitri called him at 3 a.m. Adrian was still awake. He didn't sleep much anymore. Insomnia was another old habit, same as the corner table and the constant awareness of exits. "Tell me," he said, skipping the greeting. "It's thin." Dmitri sounded tired, probably because Adrian had made him pull an all-nighter. "Really thin, like someone scrubbed it." "How far back does it go?" 8 months, right around when she started at Aurelius. "Before that?" "Nothing. No prior employment, no tax records, no social media, no credit history. It's like she didn't exist before March." Adrian sat forward. "What about the name?" "Lena Voss exists, born in Oregon, 28 years old, but the social security number's flagged." "Flagged how?" "It's real, but it's been reassigned. Original owner died in a car accident 6 years ago. Someone repurposed it." "So it's an identity buy. Clean one too, expensive. Whoever set this up knew what they were doing." Adrian processed that. Identity buys weren't uncommon in his world, but they were usually for people running from law enforcement or organized crime, not waitresses. "Anything else?" "Yeah, I found one thread. Might be nothing." "Tell me anyway." "There's a wire transfer, small, $500, sent from her account to an overseas number 3 months ago." "Where overseas?" "South Korea." Adrian's hand tightened on the phone. "You're sure?" "Routing number checks out. Transfer went through a bank in Seoul." "South Korea." The pieces were starting to form a picture, incomplete, blurry, but there. "Keep digging," Adrian said. "I want to know who she sent that money to and why." "It's going to take time. International banking laws?" "I don't care about the laws. I care about the answer." "Fine. But Volkov?" "What?" "This girl, whoever she is, she's got someone looking for her. Someone with resources. The kind of people who can afford to scrub records this clean don't usually give up easy." "I know. So what's your angle here? Why do you care?" Adrian didn't answer right away. He looked out the window of his apartment, floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking the city. From up here, everything looked small, manageable. He knew better. "Because," he said finally, "someone walked into my territory and made a move without asking. I want to know who, and I want to know why." That was part of it, the territorial part, the part that ran on pride and control. But there was something else, something he wouldn't admit to Dmitri or anyone else. He'd seen the way Lena moved, the way she'd stayed calm when everyone else panicked, the way she'd put 3 men down without hesitation. That kind of survival didn't come from nowhere. And Adrian recognized it because he'd lived it. "Just find the connection," he said. "Everything else, I'll handle." He hung up before Dmitri could argue. Then he sat in the dark, watching the city lights blur against the glass, and wondered what the hell he was getting himself into. Well, he went back to Aurelius the next night, and the night after that. Always the corner table, always the same drink. Lena didn't approach him again. She worked her shifts, kept her head down, avoided his section when she could. But he saw the cracks forming. She startled when the kitchen door slammed. She checked her phone more often. Twice, he saw her step outside during breaks, scanning the street like she was looking for something, or someone. On the 4th night, he decided to stop playing subtle. When she walked past his table, he spoke without looking up. "How long have you been in New York?" She kept walking. "The transfer to Seoul, 3 months ago. Who'd you send it to?" That stopped her. She turned slowly. Her face was pale, but her voice stayed level. "You're investigating me?" "I'm trying to help you." "I didn't ask for help." "You're going to need it anyway." She glanced around. The dining room was half full. No one was paying attention. Still, she lowered her voice. "Stay out of my life." "Can't do that." "Why not?" "Because whoever's looking for you isn't going to stop. And when they come back, And they will come back. You're going to need someone on your side. What makes you think I don't have people? The fact that you're working in a restaurant instead of asking them for help. Her jaw clenched. You don't know anything about me. Then tell me. No. Lena, that's not my name. The words came out sharp, louder than she'd intended. A couple at the next table glanced over. She took a breath, steadied herself, then leaned in close enough that he could smell faint lavender, probably from her shampoo. Stop, she whispered. Whatever you think you're doing, stop. You're going to get people hurt. I can protect you. You can't. Try me. She stared at him. He could see the war happening behind her eyes, the part of her that wanted to believe him fighting against the part that knew better. Finally, she straightened. I finish at 11, she said quietly. There's a diner 2 blocks south. If you want answers, meet me there. Then she walked away. Adrian sat back, something tight loosening in his chest. Progress. The diner was the kind of place that existed in every city. Vinyl booths, fluorescent lights, coffee that tasted like burnt regret. At 11:30 at night, it was mostly empty except for a trucker nursing pancakes and a couple of kids who looked too young to be out this late. Adrian took a booth in the back. Lena showed up at 11:40. She'd changed out of her uniform into jeans and a jacket. Her hair was down. She looked younger, tired. She slid into the seat across from him without preamble. I'm only doing this once, she said. So, listen. Adrian nodded. She glanced around, then back at him. My real name is Mina Yoon. I'm from Seoul, and 3 years ago I was sold. The words landed heavy. Sold, Adrian repeated, to a man named Daniel Kang. You probably won't find much on him if you look. He keeps things quiet. But he's rich, powerful, connected to politicians, corporations, every dirty corner you can think of. How were you sold? My family owed him money, a lot of it. My father ran a business, import-export. It went under. Kang offered to clear the debt if I married him. And you agreed? Her laugh was bitter. I was 23. I didn't know what I was agreeing to. What happened? She looked down at her hands. They were folded on the table, fingers laced tight. The first year was fine. He was careful, charming even. Made me think maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But then he started changing the rules, controlling where I went, who I talked to, what I wore. It was slow, like boiling a frog. Adrian said nothing, just listened. By the second year, I realized I wasn't a wife. I was property. And when I tried to leave, she paused. He made it very clear that wasn't an option. He had people watching me, tracking me. I couldn't go anywhere without him knowing. But you got out. I ran, took everything I'd been saving, bought documents, and left in the middle of the night. Made it to Hong Kong, then Singapore, then Los Angeles. I kept moving, kept changing names, eventually landed here. And the transfer to Seoul? Her expression tightened. My grandfather. He's still there. Kang's been using him as leverage. Every few months I send money to make sure he's taken care of. It's the only way I know he's still alive. Adrian leaned back. The pieces were falling into place now, the scrubbed identity, the careful movements, the constant vigilance. The men at the restaurant, he said. They were sent by Kang. Probably. I don't know for sure, but it fits. He's been looking for me since I left. I knew it was only a matter of time. How'd they find you? I don't know. Her voice cracked slightly. I've been so careful. I don't use my real name. I don't stay in one place too long. I don't... She stopped, took a breath. I don't know how they found me. Adrian's mind was already working through possibilities. The money transfer. Her phone, maybe someone she'd trusted along the way. It didn't matter right now. What mattered was what came next. You can't keep running, he said. I don't have a choice. You do. You just don't see it yet. She looked at him. What are you suggesting? That you let me help. Why would you do that? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. No, Adrian agreed. But I know what it's like to be hunted, and I know what it takes to make it stop. You can't fight Daniel Kang. He's too... I'm not talking about fighting him head on. I'm talking about making him back off, creating leverage, forcing him into a position where leaving you alone is the smart play. Mina shook her head. You don't understand. He doesn't back off. He's obsessive, controlling. If he thinks someone's trying to take what's his, then we make him think keeping you isn't worth the cost. She stared at him. How? Let me worry about that. I'm not dragging you into this. Too late. I'm already in. Why? Her voice rose slightly. Why do you care? Adrian didn't answer right away. He thought about the corner table, the exits, the years of watching his back, the weight of choices made and prices paid. Because, he said finally, I'm tired of watching people get crushed by systems they didn't build. And because you fought back. Most people don't. They fold, they give in, but you didn't. Mina looked down. I don't know if I can trust you. You can't, Adrian said bluntly. Not yet. But you don't have a lot of options right now, so here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me everything you know about Daniel Kang, his business, his connections, his weaknesses, and I'm going to use that to build a case that makes him walk away. And if that doesn't work, then we go to plan B. Which is? Adrian smiled. It wasn't comforting. You don't want to know. It's just, They talked for another hour. Mina gave him names, locations, details about Kang's operation. Adrian took mental notes. He'd write it all down later, cross-reference it with what Dmitri could dig up. By the time they left the diner, the city had gone quiet. Just the hum of streetlights and distant sirens. Mina pulled her jacket tighter. What happens now? Now you go home. Keep your head down. Don't do anything different. If anyone approaches you, anyone, you call me. He handed her a card with a number on it. Nothing else. She looked at it. That's it? That's it. And you're just going to, what? Make this go away? I'm going to try. She hesitated, then slipped the card into her pocket. I still don't understand why you're doing this. Neither do I, Adrian admitted. For a moment, they just stood there under the flickering streetlight. Two people who'd been running in different directions suddenly standing still. Be careful, Mina said quietly. Always am. She turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows between buildings. Adrian watched her go. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed. Dmitri, I need everything you can find on a man named Daniel Kang, South Korea, businessman, operates in the gray. Another all-nighter? Probably. Dmitri sighed. You're going to kill me, Volkov. Not if Kang kills me first. He hung up and started walking. The night air was cold, biting through his coat. Overhead, the city stretched upward, glass and steel and concrete, full of people trying to survive however they could. Adrian had spent years building his own kind of survival, power, control, territory. But this was different. This wasn't about control. This was about making sure someone else got a chance. And if that meant going to war with a man halfway across the world, then so be it. He'd fought worse battles for worse reasons. At least this time, he'd be fighting for something that mattered. Dmitri called back at 6 a.m. with coffee-stained exhaustion in his voice and a list that made Adrian's jaw tighten. Daniel Kang's not just rich, Dmitri said without preamble. He's untouchable, at least on paper. Adrian was already awake, standing at his apartment window watching the city shake off night. He'd been up for hours, running scenarios, discarding most of them. On paper doesn't interest me. What's underneath? Everything you'd expect and worse. Legitimate businesses as a front, tech manufacturing, real estate development, a chain of luxury hotels across Asia. But the money flows through shell companies in the Caymans, Singapore, Panama, classic laundering setup. Who's he connected to? Politicians in Seoul, a few parliament members, couple of judges. He's got law enforcement in his pocket too, police commissioners, prosecutors. Anyone who could make trouble for him either works for him or knows better than to try. Adrian absorbed that. It wasn't surprising. Men like Kang didn't operate in vacuums. They built ecosystems. What about weaknesses? Dmitri hesitated. That's the problem. I can't find any. He's careful, paranoid even. Doesn't trust anyone completely. Uses intermediaries for everything. His inner circle is maybe 3 people, and they've been with him for decades. Everyone has pressure points. Sure, but his are buried deep. I'd need months to dig them up properly. We don't have months. I know. That's why I'm telling you this is a bad idea. Adrian lit a cigarette, cracked the window. Cold air sliced in. What else? He's been looking for the girl, actively. I found traces, inquiries with private investigators, bounties posted on dark web forums, payments to information brokers. He's spending serious money to find her. How much? $500,000 so far? Maybe more. Adrian exhaled smoke slowly. $500,000. That kind of investment meant obsession or pride. Probably both. Anything on how they found her in New York? Not yet, but I've got a theory. Let's hear it. The money transfer to the grandfather in Seoul. If Kang's got people monitoring the old man, and he definitely does, they could have flagged the transaction, traced it back to her account here. Adrian cursed under his breath. He'd suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed made it worse. Mina had been trying to protect her grandfather, and that kindness had painted a target on her back. Can we use the grandfather? Adrian asked. Use him how? As leverage. If Kang's watching him, maybe we can flip that, make contact, see if the old man's willing to help. That's risky. If Kang finds out we're poking around, he's already found her once. Risk is relative. Dmitri was quiet for a moment. Then, I'll see what I can do. But Volkov, this girl, Mina, you sure she's worth going to war over? Adrian didn't answer right away. He thought about the way she'd moved through that restaurant, the way she'd taken down 3 armed men without flinching, the way her voice had cracked when she talked about her grandfather. Just find me an opening, he said finally. I'll decide what it's worth. He hung up and crushed out his cigarette. The city was waking up now, traffic building, lights coming on in windows across the skyline. Somewhere out there, Mina was probably getting ready for another shift, pretending everything was normal. But normal was over. And whether she liked it or not, Adrian was about to make sure Kang knew she wasn't alone anymore. He didn't go to Aurelius that day. Instead, he made calls. Quiet ones. The kind that didn't leave traces. First was Marcus Chen, who ran a security firm that specialized in corporate espionage. They'd done work together before. Nothing illegal, technically, but nothing clean either. I need surveillance on someone, Adrian said. International target, South Korea. Businessman named Daniel Kang. Marcus whistled low. That's ambitious. What are we looking for? Anything exploitable? Mistresses, gambling habits, offshore accounts that don't match his tax filings. I don't care how small. I just need something. Time frame? 2 weeks. That's tight. I know. It's going to cost. I don't care about the cost. Marcus paused. This personal? Does it matter? Just asking. You don't usually go after people outside your weight class. Adrian's grip tightened on the phone. He made it my business when he sent people into my city. Fair enough. I'll get my team on it. The second call was to Elena Volkov. No relation, just a woman who'd kept her ex-husband's name because it sounded more intimidating than her maiden one. She worked in international law, specializing in extradition cases and human trafficking prosecution. I need a consultation, Adrian said. About? Forced marriage, Korean national. Woman was coerced into marrying a wealthy businessman. She fled. He's hunting her. What are her legal options? Elena was quiet for a beat. Is this hypothetical? No. Where is she now? New York. And where's the husband? Seoul. Does she have proof of coercion? Documents? Recordings? Witnesses? Adrian thought about Mina sitting across from him in that diner, hands folded tight, voice carefully controlled. Probably not. She ran with nothing. Then her options are limited. She could apply for asylum, but that's a long process and there's no guarantee. She'd need to prove credible fear of persecution, and even then, immigration courts are backlogged for years. What about going after him directly? Legal action? In South Korea? Good luck. If he's as connected as you say, he's got the courts in his pocket. She'd be walking into a trap. So you're saying she's stuck? I'm saying the law isn't going to save her. Not quickly, anyway. Elena's voice softened slightly. Adrian, why are you involved in this? Because someone should be. But that's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting, she sighed. Fine. If you want my advice, don't rely on the legal system. Men like this don't respond to lawsuits. They respond to pressure. Find something he wants more than he wants her, then make him choose. Adrian filed that away. It matched his own thinking. Thanks, Elena. Be careful. Men who treat women like property don't let go easy. I know. He hung up and sat in the silence of his apartment. Outside, the city hummed along, indifferent to the small wars being fought in its shadows. Adrian had built his life on those wars. Territory disputes, power plays, the careful balance of threat and negotiation that kept his world running. He understood that language. But this was different. This wasn't about territory. This was about making sure Mina Yoon got to decide her own life. And if that meant dismantling Daniel Kang piece by piece, then that's what he'd do. 3 days passed. Adrian stayed away from Aurelius, giving Mina space, but he kept tabs. Dmitri reported back regularly, no new sightings of suspicious activity, no signs Kang's people had made another move. But the silence felt wrong. Too quiet. On the 4th day, Mina called him. Her voice was tight when he answered. We need to meet. When? Now. Where? Same diner. 20 minutes. She hung up before he could ask questions. Adrian grabbed his coat and headed out. The drive took 15 minutes, traffic lighter than usual. When he walked into the diner, Mina was already there, sitting in the same booth they'd used before. But this time, she wasn't alone. An older man sat across from her. Late 60s, maybe. Thin, gray hair neatly combed. He wore a cardigan that had seen better days and glasses that magnified tired eyes. Mina looked up when Adrian approached. This is my grandfather. The old man stood, extended a hand. Park Jin-ho. Adrian shook it. The grip was weak but steady. Adrian Volkov. Please sit. Jin-ho gestured to the booth. Adrian slid in next to Mina. She looked stressed, shadows under her eyes, hands wrapped around a coffee cup she hadn't touched. How did you get here? Adrian asked Jin-ho. I flew 2 days ago. His English was accented but clear. Mina sent me a ticket. Adrian looked at Mina. I thought Kang was watching him. He was. Her voice was strained. But my grandfather, he has ways. Jin-ho smiled faintly. I am old. People underestimate old men. They followed you? Adrian asked. Probably. But I took precautions. Changed flights in Tokyo. Used cash. I don't think they know I'm here yet. They will soon. I know. Jin-ho's expression sobered. That's why we need to talk quickly. Adrian waited. Jin-ho glanced at Mina, then back to Adrian. My granddaughter tells me you want to help her, that you're willing to stand against Daniel Kang. That's right. Why? Same question Elena had asked, same question Dmitri had asked. Adrian was getting tired of not having a good answer, because it's the right thing to do. Jin-ho studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. I have lived a long time, Mr. Volkov. I have seen many men say they want to do the right thing. Most of them are lying, to others, to themselves. I'm not lying. No, Jin-ho agreed. I don't think you are, but I also think you don't fully understand what you're offering to fight. Then explain it to me. Jin-ho leaned back. Daniel Kang is not just a businessman. He is a spider at the center of a very large web. Politicians, judges, police, corporate executives, all connected to him, all owing him favors or fearing his reach. If you pull one thread, the whole web reacts. I've dealt with powerful men before. Not like this. Kang is patient, methodical. He doesn't strike back immediately. He waits. He watches. And then, when you've forgotten to be careful, he destroys you. Adrian met the old man's gaze. I'm not easy to destroy. Perhaps not, but everyone has something they care about, and Kang is very good at finding those things. Mina's hand tightened around her cup. Grandfather, I don't want you involved in this. You shouldn't have come. Where else would I be? Jin-ho's voice was gentle. You are my family. My responsibility. I'm not your responsibility anymore. You are always my responsibility. He reached across the table, covered her hand with his. When your parents died, I promised I would protect you. I failed. I let that man take you. I won't make that mistake again. Mina's eyes went glassy. She looked away, blinking hard. Adrian felt like he was intruding on something private, but he stayed quiet. Let them have the moment. Finally, Jinho turned back to him. I came here because I have information about Kang, about his operation, things Mina doesn't know. I'm listening. Kang's businesses are legitimate on the surface, but underneath he runs a network. Human trafficking, contract enforcement, blackmail. He specializes in finding people who are desperate, people who owe money, people running from something, and he traps them, makes them useful. Like Mina. Yes, but she's different. Most people he traps, he uses and discards. Mina he wanted to keep. She was a prize, proof of his power. When she ran, it wasn't just about losing an asset. It was about losing face. Adrian processed that. So this is personal for him. Very personal, which means he won't stop until he has her back. Or until she's dead. The words hung heavy in the air. Mina spoke quietly. That's why I told you to walk away. This doesn't end with negotiation. It ends with blood. Adrian looked at her. Not if we make him think the cost is too high. How? She sounded exhausted. He has everything. Money, power, connections. What leverage could we possibly have? His reputation, Adrian said. Men like Kang build their power on fear and respect. If we expose him, show people what he really is, we crack the foundation. Jinho shook his head. Exposure won't work. The people who matter already know what he is. They don't care. They benefit from it. Then we go after the benefits. Cut his revenue streams. Disrupt his operations. Make him lose money until staying in business costs more than letting Mina go. That would take time, Jinho said, and resources. Do you have those? Adrian thought about his own network. The people who owed him favors. The connections he'd spent years building. It wasn't as vast as Kang's web, but it was solid. I can make it work. Jinho studied him again. Then he reached into his cardigan and pulled out a small envelope. He slid it across the table. What's this? Adrian asked. Insurance, financial records, offshore accounts, some of Kang's transactions. I've been collecting them for years, waiting for the right moment. Adrian picked up the envelope. Why didn't you use these before? Because I'm an old man with no power. If I'd tried, Kang would have buried me. But you, Jinho gestured vaguely, you have resources, connections. You can do something with this. Adrian opened the envelope. Inside were photocopied bank statements, wire transfer receipts, handwritten notes in Korean with English translations clipped to them. This is good, he said slowly. But it's not enough to bring him down. I know, but it's a start. Mina looked between them. What are you planning? Adrian set the envelope down. We build a case. Use these records to trace his money, find out who he's paying off and why. Then we start applying pressure, quietly at first. Make some of his connections nervous. Get them to distance themselves. And when he figures out what you're doing, then we escalate. To what? Adrian didn't answer immediately. He thought about the wars he'd fought, the lines he'd crossed, the things he'd done to survive in a world that didn't forgive weakness. To whatever it takes, he said finally. Jinho nodded slowly. You understand, Mr. Volkov, that once you start this, there is no stopping. Kang will come for you. He will come for everyone you care about. I understand. And you're still willing? Yes. Jinho looked at Mina. Do you trust him? Mina was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I don't know, but I don't have anyone else. It wasn't a ringing endorsement, but it was honest. Adrian could work with honest. They spent the next hour going through Jinho's documents. The old man explained each one, which accounts tied to which businesses, which payments lined up with known political campaigns, which transfers looked like bribes. It was meticulous, detailed, the work of someone who'd been preparing for this moment for a long time. How did you get all this? Adrian asked. Jinho smiled faintly. I worked in accounting before I retired, and I still have friends in Seoul, people who owe me favors, people who don't like what Kang has become. They could be in danger if he finds out they helped you. They know the risks. They chose to help anyway. Adrian respected that. Quiet rebellion. The kind that didn't make headlines but could topple empires if applied correctly. When they finished, Jin-ho stood. I should go. I'm staying at a hotel in Queens, small place, paid cash. You can't stay there, Adrian said. If Kang's people track you down, I'll be fine. I've survived this long. Grandfather, see, Mina started. I'll be careful. Jin-ho squeezed her shoulder. You focus on staying safe. Let Mr. Volkov do what he does. He nodded to Adrian, then walked out of the diner. Mina watched him go, something tight and pained in her expression. He shouldn't have come, she said quietly. He loves you. That's what people do when they love someone. It's going to get him killed. Not if we move fast. She looked at him. You really think this can work? I think it has to. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. You're either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, the city moved past the diner window, cabs honking, people rushing, the relentless churn of life. I'm scared, Mina said suddenly. I've been scared for 3 years, and I'm so tired of it. Adrian didn't tell her it would be okay. He didn't make promises he couldn't keep. Instead, he said, Fear's not the enemy. Giving up is. Easy to say when you're not the one being hunted. Who says I'm not? She looked at him sharply. What do you mean? Adrian hesitated. He didn't talk about his past, not with anyone. But something about the way Mina was looking at him, like she needed to know he understood, made him push past the usual walls. I grew up in Moscow, he said. Bad neighborhood, worse family. My father worked for the Bratva, low-level enforcer. He was good at hurting people, not much else. Mina stayed quiet, listening. When I was 16, he crossed the wrong person, got himself killed. They came for the rest of us too, me, my mother, my sister. Said we were liabilities, loose ends. What happened? I ran. Got my mother and sister out first, then disappeared. Spent 2 years moving around Europe, staying ahead of people who wanted me dead. Eventually made it to New York, started over. And they stopped looking for you? No, I just got better at hiding. And then I got strong enough that they decided it wasn't worth the effort. Mina absorbed that. So you do understand. Yeah, I understand. Is that why you're helping me? Because you see yourself in this? Adrian considered that. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of watching people get crushed by systems they didn't choose. That's a lot of weight to carry. Someone has to carry it. She studied him for a long moment. Then she said, Thank you. For what? For not looking away. Adrian didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. They left the diner together. Outside, the night was cold and clear, stars barely visible through the city's light pollution. Where are you staying? Adrian asked. An apartment in Brooklyn, sublet, month to month. You should move. If Kang's people found you once, they might come back. And go where? I have a place. Safe house. It's not much, but it's clean and off the grid. Mina hesitated. I can't keep depending on you. You're not depending. You're accepting help. There's a difference. She looked like she wanted to argue, but exhaustion won out. Okay, she said quietly. Just for a few days. Take as long as you need. He walked her to her car, a beat-up Honda that had seen better years. She got in, started the engine. Before she closed the door, she looked up at him. Adrian? Yeah? Don't get yourself killed over this. I'll do my best. She didn't look convinced, but she nodded and pulled away, taillights disappearing into traffic. Adrian stood there for a moment, hands in his pockets, watching the city breathe. Then he pulled out his phone and called Dmitri. I need you to dig deeper into Kang's network. Focus on his financial backers. Anyone funding his operations. I want names, amounts, everything. You got something? Yeah, a starting point. What are you planning? To make him bleed money until he can't afford to keep chasing her. Dmitri was quiet for a beat. That's a long game, Volkov. You sure you've got the patience? Adrian thought about Mina's face when she talked about her grandfather. The fear, the exhaustion, the weight of years spent running. I'll make time, he said. He hung up and started walking. The night stretched ahead, full of work and risk, and the kind of calculations that kept him awake. But for the first time in a long time, Adrian felt something close to purpose. Not the hollow satisfaction of winning territory or making money, something sharper, more dangerous. The feeling that maybe, just maybe, he could tip the scales for someone who deserved it. And if Daniel Kang wanted to fight about it, then they'd fight. Adrian had survived worse, and this time he wasn't running. 2 days later, Marcus Chen called with the first piece of useful intel. Found something, Marcus said. Kang's got a business partner, American expat living in Seoul. Name's Richard Brennan, tech investor. Clean reputation, at least publicly. What's his connection to Kang? They co-own a data analytics firm. Legitimate business, but our surveillance picked up some interesting transactions. Money moving through the company that doesn't match their declared revenue. Laundering? Almost certainly. And if Brennan's involved, that makes him vulnerable. Americans don't like getting caught up in international financial crimes. Bad for business. Adrian filed that away. Can you get me a meeting with him? Probably. He's in New York next week for a tech conference. I can arrange an introduction. Do it. What are you thinking? That men like Brennan value their reputations. If he thinks his partnership with Kang might blow back on him, he'll cut ties. And that helps how? It isolates Kang, makes him weaker, gives us leverage. Marcus sighed. You're playing a dangerous game. Only kind I know. Just don't drag me down with you. Wouldn't dream of it. Adrian hung up and looked at the stack of documents Jin Ho had given him. He'd been going through them methodically, highlighting connections, building a map of Kang's empire. It was vast, complicated, but every web had anchor points. And Adrian was going to start cutting threads until the whole thing collapsed. His phone buzzed, a text from Mina. Moved into the safe house. It's nice. Thank you. He typed back, stay put. Don't go anywhere alone. 3 dots appeared. Then, I'm not helpless. I know, but humor me anyway. A pause, then, fine. Adrian set down his phone and went back to work. Outside, the city kept moving, indifferent, relentless. But somewhere in its depths, the pieces were shifting. And Daniel Kang didn't know it yet. But his carefully built world was about to start crumbling. The tech conference was exactly what Adrian expected. Glass and chrome, expensive suits, people talking about disruption while sipping $12 coffees. He hated these events. Too much noise, too many exits to watch. But Richard Brennan would be here, and that made it worth the headache. Marcus had arranged the introduction through a mutual contact, some venture capitalist who owed Adrian a favor from years back. The setup was simple. Casual conversation at the networking mixer, feeling Brennan out, seeing if he'd bite. Adrian spotted him near the refreshment table. Mid-40s, California tan, wearing a blazer that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. He was laughing at something a woman in a pencil skirt had said, but his eyes kept scanning the room, looking for the next opportunity, the next connection. Adrian waited until Brennan was alone before approaching. Richard Brennan? Brennan turned, assessing Adrian in half a second. That's me. And you are? Adrian Volkov. Marcus Chen suggested we talk. Recognition flickered across Brennan's face. Marcus? Sure. He mentioned you might be here. He extended a hand. The grip was firm, but performative. What can I do for you? I'm exploring investment opportunities in the tech sector, specifically data analytics. I understand you run a firm. I co-own one, yeah, Data Sync Solutions. Based in Seoul, but we've got clients worldwide. With Daniel Kang. Brennan's smile didn't falter, but something shifted in his eyes. You've done your homework. I always do. Then you know Data Sync is a legitimate operation. Clean revenue, strong growth trajectory. I'm sure it is, Adrian said evenly, but I'm curious about the structure, your partnership with Kang, how that works. Brennan's jaw tightened slightly. Why the interest in Kang specifically? Because I like to know who I'm getting into bed with, and Kang's name keeps coming up in places it shouldn't. I don't know what you mean. Sure you do. For a moment they just stared at each other. Around them, the mixer hummed along, conversations, laughter, the clink of glasses. Finally, Brennan said, maybe we should take this somewhere more private. They moved to a quieter corner, away from the crowd. Brennan crossed his arms, defensive now. Look, I don't know what you've heard, but DataSync is clean. We run legitimate analytics for corporate clients. That's it. And the money moving through your accounts that doesn't match declared revenue? Brennan's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. And if I found it, other people can too. Federal investigators, the SEC, people who won't be as polite as I'm being. Are you threatening me? I'm giving you a heads up because I think you're smart enough to know when you're in over your head. Brennan looked around, lowered his voice. What do you want? Information about Kang's operation, what he's really using DataSync for. I can't. You can, and you will. Because right now, you've got plausible deniability. You can claim you didn't know what Kang was doing, but the longer you stay silent, the harder that becomes. Brennan's hands clenched. You don't understand. Kang isn't someone you cross. He's got connections, influence. If he finds out I talked to you, then make sure he doesn't find out. That's not how this works. He's got people everywhere, watching, listening. Adrian leaned in slightly. So do I. And right now, I'm offering you a way out. Help me build a case against Kang, and when this blows up, you walk away clean. Refuse and you go down with him. Brennan's breathing had quickened. He looked trapped, cornered. What kind of information are you looking for? Financial ties. Who's funding his operations? Where the laundered money goes? Names, dates, anything that connects him to illegal activity. I don't have access to most of that. Kang keeps things compartmentalized. Then give me what you do have. Brennan was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, There's a meeting next week in Seoul. Some of Kang's major investors are flying in. I'm supposed to present quarterly projections. Who's attending? I don't know all the names, but it's high level. Politicians, corporate executives, people who don't want their involvement made public. Adrian felt a spark of interest. Can you get me a list? Maybe. But even if I do, what are you going to do with it? Apply pressure. Make them nervous. Get them to distance themselves from Kang. And you think that'll work? It's a start. Brennan rubbed his face. This is insane. I should walk away right now. But you won't. Why not? Because you're already in too deep, and you know it. The only question is whether you want to control how this ends or let Kang control it for you. Brennan stared at him. Then he pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, and showed Adrian the screen. A list of names, 8 of them, all Korean except for 2. Adrian memorized them. Send me that. I can't. If there's a digital trail, then write it down. Old-fashioned paper. No phones, no emails. Brennan looked around again, paranoid. Then he grabbed a napkin from the refreshment table and scribbled the names. He shoved it at Adrian. This is all you're getting from me. After this, we're done. Adrian pocketed the napkin. Fair enough. And if Kang finds out, he won't. Not from me. Brennan didn't look convinced, but he nodded and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Adrian stayed where he was, hand resting on the napkin in his pocket. 8 names. 8 threads to pull. It wasn't much, but it was enough to start unraveling things. He left the conference and stepped into the cold afternoon air. The city stretched out around him, noise and motion and 1,000 small dramas playing out in the margins. Somewhere across the ocean, Daniel Kang was still pulling strings, still hunting Mina, still believing his empire was untouchable. But empires fell. Adrian had seen it happen before, and this time he was going to make sure he was the one holding the knife. He met Dmitri at a bar in the meatpacking district. It was the kind of place that tried too hard to be cool. Exposed brick, Edison bulbs, bartenders with ironic mustaches. But it was loud enough that conversations got lost in the noise, which made it useful. Dmitri was already there, nursing a beer and looking like he hadn't slept in days. Probably because he hadn't. You look like hell, Adrian said, sliding into the booth. Thanks, you're a real morale booster. Adrian handed him the napkin with the names. Run these. I want backgrounds, financial records, anything that shows how they're connected to Kang. Dmitri unfolded the napkin, scanned the list. Some of these are big names, parliament members, CEOs. This is going to take time. You keep saying that because it keeps being true. Dmitri looked up. You know what happens if we start poking around these people, right? They've got resources, security. They'll know someone's digging. Well, let them know. I want them nervous. You're playing with fire. I'm aware. Dmitri folded the napkin and tucked it into his jacket. What's the end game here, Volkov? Say we dig up dirt on all these people. Say we get them to back away from Kang. That still doesn't solve the core problem. Which is that Kang's obsessed with getting Mina back. Even if we cut his funding, even if we isolate him, he's not going to stop. Men like that don't stop. They double down. Adrian knew Dmitri was right. He'd been thinking the same thing for days. This wasn't just about money or power. For Kang, it was personal, a matter of pride. Then we make it more expensive to keep fighting than to let her go, Adrian said. How? By threatening the one thing he values more than his ego. Which is? His empire, his reputation, his ability to operate. We don't just cut his funding. We dismantle him piece by piece until there's nothing left. Dmitri stared at him. That's not pressure. That's war. Yeah, it is. And you're prepared for that? Adrian thought about Mina sitting in that diner, exhausted and scared. Thought about Jin-ho risking everything to help his granddaughter. Thought about the 3 years she'd spent running, never safe, never free. I'm prepared, he said. Dmitri sighed and took a long drink. You're going to get us both killed. Probably. But you're doing it anyway. Yeah. Why? Adrian didn't answer right away. He signaled the bartender, ordered a whiskey. When it came, he drank half of it in one swallow. Because someone has to, he said finally. Dmitri shook his head. That's the worst reason I've ever heard. It's the only one I've got. They sat in silence for a while. Around them, the bar filled up. After-work crowds, couples on dates, groups of friends laughing too loud. Normal life. The kind Adrian had never quite figured out how to live. There's something else, Dmitri said eventually. I've been tracking Kang's people, the ones who came after Mina at the restaurant. And? They're still in New York, holed up in a hotel in Midtown. Waiting. Adrian's grip tightened on his glass. For what? Orders, probably, or another shot at her. How many? At least 4, maybe more. You have an address? Dmitri hesitated. Yeah, but if you're thinking about going after them, I'm not thinking about it. I'm doing it. That's a terrible idea. Add it to the list. Dmitri pulled out his phone, sent Adrian a text with the hotel address. Just be smart about this. These guys aren't amateurs. Neither am I. That's what worries me. Adrian finished his drink and stood. Keep working on those names. I'll handle Kang's people. Volkov? But Adrian was already walking out. The hotel was a mid-range chain, clean but generic, the kind of place business travelers used when their company was paying but didn't want to spend too much. Adrian watched it from across the street, cataloging details. Security cameras at the entrance, a bored doorman checking his phone, no obvious muscle posted outside. He waited until after midnight, then crossed the street and walked in like he belonged there. The lobby was empty except for a night clerk half asleep behind the desk. Adrian bypassed him entirely, headed straight for the elevators. Dmitri had given him a room number, 4th floor, 412. He took the stairs instead of the elevator, quieter, less chance of running into anyone. The 4th floor hallway was dim, lit by sconces that threw long shadows. Adrian moved down it silently, counting doors. When he reached 412, he stopped, pressed his ear to the door, heard voices inside, low, conversational, at least 2 people. He knocked. The voices stopped. Footsteps approached. The peephole darkened as someone looked through. Who is it? Accented English. Male. Maintenance. Complain about noise from this room. We're not making noise. I still need to check. Hotel policy. Silence. Then the sound of the deadbolt sliding back. The door opened a crack, chain still engaged. A man's face appeared in the gap. Young, Asian, suspicious. Adrian didn't wait. He slammed his shoulder into the door, snapping the chain. The man stumbled back, reaching for something at his waist. Adrian was on him before he could draw. He drove his fist into the man's solar plexus, doubling him over, then brought his knee up into his face. The man went down hard. The second man came from the bedroom, faster than Adrian expected. He had a knife, a short, wicked-looking blade that caught the overhead light. Adrian kicked a chair into his path. The man dodged, slashed at Adrian's arm. The blade caught fabric, drew a thin line of blood. Adrian grabbed a lamp from the side table and swung it. The base caught the man in the temple. He staggered, and Adrian followed up with a punch to the throat. The man dropped the knife, gasping. Adrian swept his legs out and put him on the ground. Then he grabbed the knife and held it to the man's throat. "How many of you are there?" Adrian asked. The man didn't answer, just glared. Adrian pressed the blade harder. "I asked you a question. Go to hell." "Wrong answer." He adjusted his grip, letting the blade draw a tiny bead of blood. The man's eyes widened. "4," he gasped. "4 of us." "Where are the others?" "Next room, 414. "Who sent you?" The man's jaw clenched. "I don't know his name." "Liar." "I'm not lying. We get orders through an intermediary. We don't ask questions." "But you know why you're here." The man hesitated, then nodded. "For the girl," he said. "We're supposed to grab her, bring her back. To Kang." Another nod. Adrian felt cold rage settling in his chest. "And if you can't grab her?" The man didn't answer. "If you can't grab her, what?" Adrian pressed the blade harder. "We kill her," the man whispered. Adrian's vision narrowed. For a moment, all he could hear was his own heartbeat. Then he pulled back the knife and stood. The man sucked in air, hand going to his throat. "Tell Kong something for me," Adrian said quietly. "Tell him Mina's not alone anymore. Tell him if he wants her, he goes through me first. He'll kill you." "He can try." Adrian walked to the door, paused. "And if I see you or any of your people near her again, I won't be this polite." He left the room, closing the door behind him. His hands were shaking slightly, adrenaline wearing off. The cut on his arm stung, but it wasn't deep. He took the stairs back down, walked out through the lobby. The night clerk didn't even look up. Outside, the city was quiet. Just the hum of late-night traffic and the distant wail of a siren. Adrian pulled out his phone and texted Mina. "Stay inside, don't answer the door for anyone." Then he called Dmitri. "It's done," he said when Dmitri answered. "What's done?" "Kong's people. I sent them a message. Please tell me you didn't kill anyone." "I didn't kill anyone." "That's not reassuring." "It wasn't meant to be. Just keep working on those names." He hung up and started walking. His arm throbbed. His knuckles were bruised. But he felt clear-headed for the first time in days. This was real now. Not just planning. Not just gathering information. This was war. And Adrian was done playing defense. He showed up at the safe house an hour later. It was a nondescript building in Queens, the kind of place no one looked at twice. He'd bought it years ago under a shell company, kept it stocked and ready for situations exactly like this. Mina answered the door on the third knock, holding a kitchen knife. "It's me," Adrian said. She lowered the knife, relief and irritation warring on her face. "You said not to open the door for anyone." "I'm not anyone." She stepped aside to let him in. The apartment was small but clean, one bedroom, kitchenette, a couch that pulled out into a bed. Mina had been sleeping on the couch, judging by the blankets piled there. "What happened?" she asked, noticing the blood on his sleeve. "Ran into some of Kang's people." Her expression tightened. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. It's not deep." "Let me see." "Mina." "Let me see." He sighed and shrugged off his jacket. She guided him to the kitchenette, turned on the light, and rolled up his sleeve. The cut was about 3 inches long, shallow but messy. "You need stitches," she said. "I've had worse." "That's not the point." She pulled out a first aid kit from under the sink. Adrian had stocked the place well and started cleaning the wound. Her hands were steady, efficient. She'd done this before. "Where'd you learn that?" Adrian asked. "YouTube. A necessity." She dabbed antiseptic on the cut. He hissed. "Sorry." "It's fine." They were quiet for a moment. Mina worked carefully, her focus complete. When she finished cleaning, she applied butterfly bandages to hold the edges together. "There," she said. That should hold until you can see a real doctor. I'm not seeing a doctor. Of course you're not. She put away the first aid kit. What did you do to Kang's people? Sent them a message. Which was? That you're not alone, and that if they want to get to you, they go through me. Mina's jaw tightened. You shouldn't have done that. Too late. Adrian, this isn't your fight. We've been over this. And I'm telling you again, you're going to get yourself killed. Maybe, but at least I'll go down swinging. She turned away, braced her hands on the counter. I don't want that on my conscience. It's not on you. It's my choice. Why? Her voice cracked slightly. Why are you doing this? You barely know me. You don't owe me anything. Adrian was quiet for a moment. He thought about all the times he'd asked himself the same question, all the rationalizations he'd built. But standing here, watching Mina try to hold herself together, he realized the truth was simpler than he'd wanted to admit. Because I see what Kang did to you, he said quietly, what he's still doing, and I can't just walk away from that. Why not? Other people have. I'm not other people. She turned back to face him. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying. What if we lose? What if all of this, everything you're doing, what if it's not enough? Then at least we tried. That's not comforting. No, but it's honest. Mina laughed, but it came out strangled. You're either the bravest person I've ever met or the most reckless. Definitely the second one. She shook her head. I don't know whether to thank you or yell at you. You can do both. For a moment, they just stood there. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and distant traffic outside. Then Mina said, My grandfather called. He's worried. Thinks he's being followed. Adrian's attention sharpened. Where is he? Still at the hotel. But he wants to move. Thinks it's safer. It's not. Moving makes him more vulnerable. Tell him to stay put. I'll send someone to watch the place. You have people? A few. People I trust. Mina looked uncertain. What if Kang's already found him? Then we deal with it, but panicking won't help. She nodded slowly. Okay, I'll tell him. Adrian checked his watch, nearly 3 a.m. You should get some sleep. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I think about what happens if Kang wins. If he gets me back. He's not going to. You can't promise that. No, but I can make it a hell of a lot harder for him to try. Mina studied him. You really believe we can beat him, don't you? I believe we can make him wish he'd never started this. She smiled faintly. That's not the same thing. Close enough. She walked to the couch, sat down heavily. I've been running for 3 years. I don't know how to stop. You don't have to stop. You just have to stand still long enough to fight back. And if I'm not strong enough? Adrian sat down across from her. You took down 3 armed men in under 10 seconds. You survived 3 years on your own with one of the most dangerous men in Asia hunting you. You're strong enough. That was survival. This is different. How? Because now there are other people involved. You, my grandfather. If something happens to either of you because of me, it won't be because of you. It'll be because of Kang. Don't carry his weight. Mina looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, How do you do it? Carry all of this and not break? Who says I don't break? You seem, what? Unshakable. Adrian laughed, but there was no humor in it. I'm good at hiding the cracks, doesn't mean they're not there. Where are they? He didn't answer, just looked away. Mina didn't push, she just pulled the blanket tighter around herself and leaned back against the couch. Thank you, she said quietly, for the message you sent, for everything. Don't thank me yet, we're just getting started. I know, but still. Adrian stood. Get some rest, I'll be back tomorrow. Where are you going? To finish what I started. He left before she could ask more questions. Outside, the night was cold and still. His arm ached where the knife had caught him, and exhaustion pulled at the edges of his thoughts. But he couldn't stop now, not when Kang's people were still out there. Not when the names on that napkin represented threads he could pull. Not when Mina and her grandfather were still in danger. He got into his car and drove through the empty streets, thinking about empires and the people who built them. Thinking about power and what it cost to take it. Thinking about all the ways this could go wrong. But mostly, he thought about Mina's question. Why are you doing this? And the answer that kept coming back, no matter how many times he tried to rationalize it differently, because it's the right thing to do. Simple, inadequate, true. He pulled out his phone and called Dmitri one more time. I need you to move faster on those names, he said. We're running out of time. I'm doing the best I can. Do better. He hung up and kept driving, the city lights blurring past, and somewhere ahead of him the shape of a plan began to form. Not perfect, not safe, but maybe, just maybe, enough. 3 days after Adrian sent his message, everything went to hell. It started with a phone call at 4 in the morning. Adrian was barely asleep when his phone buzzed on the nightstand. He grabbed it, already awake, already knowing this wouldn't be good news. Volkov, Dmitri's voice was tight. We've got a problem. Adrian sat up. Talk to me. Jinho's hotel. There was an incident. Someone tried to grab him. Adrian's blood went cold. Is he alive? Yeah, but barely. He fought back. Hotel security got involved. Police are there now. Where is he? Hospital, Mount Sinai. They're holding him for observation. Adrian was already pulling on clothes. And Mina? I haven't told her yet. Thought you'd want to handle that. Good call. Send me the hospital address. Already done. But Volkov. There's more. What? The guy who tried to grab Jinho. He's talking. Told the cops he was hired to bring the old man back to Seoul. Said there's a bounty. 50,000. Adrian closed his eyes. Kang put a price on his head. Looks like it. And if one person tried, others will too. How long before this hits the news? Hard to say. Police are keeping it quiet for now, but with that kind of money on the table, word's going to spread fast. Adrian grabbed his jacket. Keep monitoring. If you hear anything, call me immediately. What are you going to do? Get Jinho somewhere safe. Then figure out how to end this before someone else gets hurt. He hung up and headed for the door. The drive to the safe house took 15 minutes through empty streets. When he knocked, Mina answered immediately, like she'd been waiting. One look at his face and she knew. What happened? Your grandfather. Someone tried to take him. The color drained from her face. Is he? He's alive, at Mount Sinai, but we need to move now. She didn't waste time with questions, just grabbed her jacket and followed him to the car. They drove in silence. Adrian could feel the tension radiating off her, fear mixed with anger, guilt mixed with helplessness. He'd seen that combination before. It ate people alive if you let it. This is my fault, she said finally. No, it's Kang's fault. I should never have sent him that money, should never have involved him. He's your grandfather. You were trying to protect him. And look where that got us. Adrian didn't have a good answer for that, so he just drove faster. The hospital was busy even at this hour. Ambulances coming and going, people in scrubs moving with practiced urgency. Adrian parked in a loading zone and they headed inside. Jinho was on the 4th floor. A uniformed cop stood outside his room, looking bored. Adrian approached, keeping his movements casual. We're here to see Park Jinho. The cop looked them over. Family? Granddaughter, Mina said. ID? Mina showed her driver's license, the fake one under Lena Voss. The cop glanced at it, didn't look too closely, and waved them through. Inside, Jinho was sitting up in bed, looking older and frailer than he had 3 days ago. His face was bruised, one eye swollen shut. His left arm was in a sling. Grandfather. Mina rushed to his side. Jinho managed a weak smile. Mina, you shouldn't have come. Of course I came. Her voice cracked. What happened? A man. He came to my room, said he had a message. When I opened the door, he tried to force his way in. We fought. I'm not as young as I used to be, but I still remember a few things. He gestured to his injuries. He got the worst of it. Where is he now? Adrian asked. Police custody. They arrested him in the lobby. Did he say anything? Mention Kang? Jinho shook his head. Just that he was hired to bring me back. Said there was money involved. A lot of it. Adrian exchanged a glance with Mina. She looked pale, hands clenched into fists. You can't stay here, Adrian said. It's not safe. If one person found you, others will try. Where would I go? With us. I've got a place, secure, off the grid. Jinho studied him. Mr. Volkov, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I'm tired of running. I've spent 3 years worrying about Mina, watching her suffer because of my mistakes. Maybe it's time I face this directly. That's suicide, Adrian said bluntly. Perhaps, but at least it would end. Grandfather, no. Mina's voice was fierce. You're not giving up. Not now. I'm not giving up. I'm being realistic. You're being stubborn. Jinho smiled faintly. That's where you get it from. Mina looked like she wanted to argue more, but a doctor appeared in the doorway, a woman in her 40s with tired eyes and a clipboard. Mr. Park? We need to run a few more tests, make sure there's no internal damage. How long will that take? Adrian asked. A few hours, maybe longer. We'll wait, Mina said. The doctor nodded and left. Jinho settled back against his pillow, wincing. You should go, he said to Mina. Get some rest, I'll be fine. I'm not leaving you. Mina, I'm not leaving. Jinho sighed but didn't argue further. He closed his eyes, exhaustion pulling at him. Adrian stepped outside the room, pulled out his phone, and called Dmitri. I need security on Mount Sinai, 4th floor, room 412, round the clock. How many people? 2 minimum, armed. Tell them to watch for anyone asking about Park Jin-ho. That's going to be expensive. I don't care. Just do it. You're burning through resources fast, Volkov. Then I'll burn faster. This ends soon, one way or another. He hung up and leaned against the wall. His arm ached where the knife had caught him. His head throbbed from lack of sleep. He felt like he was holding together a structure that wanted to collapse. Mina stepped out of the room. He's asleep. Good. He needs it. She rubbed her face. This is getting worse. Every move we make, Kang responds harder. That means we're hurting him. Or making him desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. So do smart people when they're cornered. Mina looked at him. What are we going to do? We're going to hit him where it hurts, hard enough that he backs off. And if that doesn't work? Adrian didn't answer. Because the truth was, he didn't have a backup plan. He was making this up as he went, adapting to each new crisis as it came. That had always been his strength, improvisation, thinking on his feet, but it also meant he was one bad move away from disaster. Come on, he said finally. Let's get some coffee. We're not going to solve this standing in a hospital hallway. They found a cafeteria on the 2nd floor. It was mostly empty, just a few nurses grabbing late-night meals and a janitor mopping floors. Adrian got coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. Mina got tea she didn't drink. They sat by a window overlooking the parking lot. Outside, the city was starting to wake up, delivery trucks rumbling past, early commuters heading to work. Tell me about Kang, Adrian said. Not the business stuff, the personal stuff. What makes him tick? Mina was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Control. That's what drives him. He needs to control everything around him. People, situations, outcomes. Why? I don't know. Maybe something in his past. He never talked about it, but I could see it in the way he operated. Everything had to be perfect. Everyone had to follow the script he wrote. And when they didn't, he'd get angry, not loud, not violent, just cold, like you'd stopped being a person and became a problem to solve. Adrian absorbed that. So losing you wasn't just about losing a wife. It was about losing control. Exactly. I broke his script, and he can't tolerate that. Then we use it against him. Make him feel more out of control. Force him to react emotionally instead of strategically. How? By exposing him, making his operation public. When people like Kang operate in shadows, they're powerful. But shine a light on them, and they scramble. Mina looked doubtful. You really think exposure will stop him? No, but it'll force him to choose between protecting his empire and chasing you, and if we make the cost high enough, he'll choose the empire. You're assuming he's rational. Everyone's rational when the stakes are high enough. Mina shook her head. You don't know him like I do. He's not going to stop, not until he wins or we're all dead. Then we make sure he doesn't win. She stared into her tea. I'm scared, Adrian. I've been scared for years, but this is different. It feels like everything's accelerating, like we're running out of time. We are. But that works both ways. Kang's feeling the pressure too. What if it's not enough? What if we do everything right and he still wins? Adrian reached across the table, covered her hand with his. Then at least we went down fighting, together. She looked up at him. Her eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted, but there was something else there too, something that looked like trust. Promise me something, she said quietly. What? If this goes bad, if Kang gets to me, don't blame yourself. That's not going to happen. But if it does, it won't. Adrian, I'm not promising that, because I'm not planning to let it happen. She pulled her hand back. You can't control everything. No, but I can sure as hell try. For a moment, they just sat there. Then Mina's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, frowned. What? Adrian asked. It's from an unknown number. She showed him the screen. The message was short. We need to talk, regarding mutual interest. Come alone. No signature, no context. Adrian's instincts flared. Don't respond. What if it's important? It's a trap, has to be. You don't know that. I know Kang's playbook. He's trying to isolate you, get you away from protection. Mina stared at the message. What if it's not from Kang? What if it's someone who can help? Then they'd identify themselves. She looked torn. Adrian could see her weighing options, calculating risks. Let me trace the number, he said. See who it belongs to, then we decide. And if you can't trace it, then we ignore it. Mina nodded slowly. She forwarded the message to Adrian, who sent it to Dmitri with a single word. Urgent. The response came back 2 minutes later. Number's a burner, can't trace, but it pinged off a tower in Midtown. Whoever sent it is local. Adrian showed Mina the reply. Still think it's legit? I don't know. But what if it is? What if someone knows something that could help? Or what if it's Kang's people setting up another grab attempt? Mina set down her phone. So what do? We wait. If it's real, they'll reach out again. If it's a setup, they'll get impatient and slip up. And in the meantime? In the meantime, we keep moving forward with what we know. Dimitri's working on those names from the investor meeting. Once we have leverage, we start applying pressure. Mina looked out the window. Dawn was breaking now, pale light spilling across the city, washing out the neon and streetlights. I used to love mornings, she said quietly. When I was a kid, before everything got complicated, I'd wake up early and watch the sunrise from our apartment. It felt like the world was full of possibilities. And now? Now it just feels like another day to survive. Adrian didn't have a response to that. So he just sat with her, watching the light grow stronger, and tried not to think about how many things could still go wrong. Dmitri called 3 hours later with an update. Adrian stepped outside the hospital to take it, leaving Mina with her grandfather. Got something on one of the names, Dmitri said. Lee Sung-min. He's a parliament member in Seoul, serves on the finance committee. And his connection to Kang? Deep. Kang's been funneling money to Lee's campaigns for years. In exchange, Lee pushes legislation that benefits Kang's businesses. Classic quid pro quo. Can we prove it? With Jinho's documents? Maybe. The paper trail's there if you know where to look. What about leverage? Does Lee have any vulnerabilities? Actually, yeah, he's got a mistress. Young woman, early 20s. He's been setting her up in an apartment, paying her bills. His wife doesn't know. Adrian felt a flicker of interest. How solid is the intel? Solid enough. I've got photos, bank transfers, hotel receipts. Send them to me. Already done. But Volkov, if you're thinking about threatening Lee with exposure, that's exactly what I'm thinking. It's risky. He could call your bluff. Or worse, he could tell Kang you're targeting his allies. Let him tell Kang, I want Kong to know I'm coming. Dmitri sighed. You're really committed to this scorched earth approach, aren't you? It's the only approach that works with people like this. Just don't burn yourself in the process. Adrian hung up and went back inside. Mina was sitting with Jinho, who looked slightly better after some rest. The doctor had cleared him. No internal damage, just bruising and exhaustion. We can leave, Mina said when Adrian walked in. They're discharging him. Good, we'll move him to the safe house. Stay there until this is over. Jinho started to protest, but Mina cut him off. Don't argue. You're coming with us. The old man sighed, but nodded. They left the hospital through a side exit, avoiding the main entrance. Adrian had his security team do a sweep first, making sure no one was waiting outside. The drive back to Queens was tense. Adrian kept checking the mirrors, watching for tails, but the streets stayed clear. When they reached the safe house, he got Jinho settled on the couch. The old man looked exhausted, moving slowly, favoring his injured arm. "Rest," Adrian said. "I'll be back tonight." "Where are you going?" Mina asked. "To start pulling threads. The first name on that list, Lee Sung-min. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse." "You're going to Seoul?" "No, he's here, in New York, attending some conference on international trade." Mina's eyes widened. "How did you—" "Dimitri's thorough. Lee's staying at the peninsula. I'm going to pay him a visit." "What are you going to say?" "That his relationship with Kang is about to become very public unless he cuts ties, and that I have evidence that'll destroy his career and his marriage." "That's blackmail." "Yeah, it is." Mina looked conflicted. "I don't know if I'm comfortable with that." "You don't have to be. But it's effective. And right now, effective is what we need," Jinho spoke up from the couch. "Mr. Volkov is right. Men like Lee only respond to pressure. If you want him to abandon Kang, you have to make staying loyal more painful than walking away." "But what if he warns Kang?" "Then we deal with it," Adrian said. "But I don't think he will. Lee's a politician. Self-preservation is his first instinct. Once he knows I've got dirt on him, he'll fold." Mina didn't look convinced, but she nodded. "Be careful." "Always am." Adrian left the safe house and headed back into Manhattan. The Peninsula Hotel was in Midtown, luxury and discretion, the kind of place where people paid for privacy. He arrived just after noon. The lobby was marble and crystal, hushed conversations and expensive luggage. Adrian approached the front desk. "I'm here to see Lee Sung-min, room 1407. The clerk looked uncertain. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but he'll want to see me." "I'm sorry, sir, but I can't just—" Adrian slid a $100 bill across the desk. "Ring his room. Tell him Adrian Volkov needs 5 minutes. If he says no, I'll leave." The clerk hesitated, then pocketed the bill and picked up the phone. A brief conversation in Korean. Then he hung up. "Room 1407, 14th floor." Adrian took the elevator up. The hallway was quiet, plush carpeting absorbing sound. He found 1407 and knocked. The door opened. Lee Sung-min was shorter than Adrian expected, early 50s, wearing an expensive suit that didn't quite hide a paunch. His expression was wary. "Mr. Volkov?" "That's me." "How did you find me?" "Does it matter?" Lee's jaw tightened. "What do you want?" "5 minutes of your time, that's all." Lee looked like he wanted to refuse, but curiosity won out. He stepped aside. The suite was opulent. Floor-to-ceiling windows, separate living area, a view of Central Park. Lee gestured to a chair but didn't sit himself. He stood by the window, arms crossed. "I have a meeting in 20 minutes. Make this quick." Adrian pulled out his phone, showed Lee a photo. It was Lee and a young woman, arms around each other, outside an apartment building. Lee's face went pale. "Where did you get that?" "Doesn't matter. What matters is what I do with it." "This is blackmail." "Yes, it is." Lee's hands clenched. "What do you want?" "You're an investor in Daniel Kang's operations. I want you to pull out, publicly. Make a statement that you're cutting ties." "That's insane. Kang would what? Come after you? He's got bigger problems right now. But even if he didn't, I think your wife finding out about your girlfriend would be worse." Lee's breathing quickened. "You don't understand what you're asking. Kang isn't just a business partner. He's connected, powerful. If I betray him, then you make a choice. Your career and marriage or your loyalty to Kang. Can't have both. This isn't fair." "Life rarely is." Lee turned away, staring out the window. His shoulders were tense, hands gripping the frame. "How do I know you won't release those photos anyway?" he asked quietly. "You don't, but I give you my word. Cut ties with Kang, and the photos disappear. No one ever sees them. Your word means nothing to me. Then think of it this way. If I release the photos now, you've got nothing to lose. You might as well stay loyal to Kang, but if you cooperate, you keep everything, your position, your marriage, your future. Lee was quiet for a long time. Outside, the city spread out below, millions of people living their lives, unaware of the small war being fought in this hotel room. Finally, Lee said, "I need time to think. You've got 24 hours. After that, the photos go public." "That's not enough time." "It's all you're getting." Lee turned to face him. "You're making a mistake. Kang isn't someone you cross lightly." "So I keep hearing, but here I am anyway. He'll destroy you." "He can try." Adrian stood and walked to the door. He paused with his hand on the handle. 24 hours, Mr. Lee. Choose wisely." He left the suite and headed back to the elevator. His hands were shaking slightly, adrenaline, exhaustion, the weight of what he'd just done. Blackmail wasn't new to him. He'd used it before, when necessary. But it always left a bad taste. Still, it was effective. And effectiveness was what mattered now. His phone buzzed. A text from Dmitri. "Just got word. Kang's people are moving. 3 more arrived in New York this morning. They're escalating." Adrian cursed under his breath. He typed back, "Where?" "Don't know yet, but they're here, and they're not here to talk." Adrian stepped into the elevator, mind racing. Kang was bringing in reinforcements. That meant he was taking this seriously. That meant Adrian's plan was working. But it also meant the danger had just multiplied. He needed to move faster, hit harder, make Kang feel the walls closing in before he could mount a real counterattack. The elevator reached the lobby. Adrian stepped out, already planning his next move. Lee Sung-min would fold. Adrian was sure of it. Politicians always did when their reputations were on the line. And once Lee broke, the others would follow. One by one, Kang's support structure would crumble. At least that was the theory. Adrian had bet everything on it. Now he just had to hope he was right. Lee Sung-min called 18 hours later. Adrian was at his apartment going through financial records with Dmitri when his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on the second ring. "I'll do it." Lee's voice was strained. "I'll cut ties with Kang." "Smart choice." "But I need guarantees. The photos will disappear. You have my word." "Your word isn't enough. I want the originals, all copies destroyed." Adrian glanced at Dmitri, who nodded. "Done. You'll get confirmation once you make the announcement." "When?" "Today. Call a press conference. Say you're divesting from all partnerships with Kang's companies. Cite ethical concerns. Make it public and irreversible." Lee was quiet for a beat. "This is going to destroy my relationship with him. He'll come after me." "That's your problem, not mine. You made your choice." "You don't understand what you've started. Kang doesn't forgive betrayal." "Oh, then I guess you better hope he's too busy with other problems to focus on you." Adrian hung up before Lee could respond. Dmitri was watching him with something between admiration and concern. "That's one down," Dmitri said. "What about the others?" "We keep pushing. Lee's announcement will rattle them, make them nervous. Some will distance themselves voluntarily. The ones who don't, we target the same way." "That's going to take time we might not have. Kang's people are here. They're looking for Mina." "I know, which is why we need to accelerate." Adrian stood, paced to the window. "What's the status on Kang himself? Any movement?" "He's still in Seoul, but he's making calls, a lot of them, to people here in New York. We're monitoring what we can, but he's careful, uses encrypted lines. He's coordinating something." "Definitely. Question is what?" Adrian's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We need to meet. Tonight. 10 p.m. Pier 17. Come alone if you want your answers." He showed it to Dmitri. "That's the same number that texted Mina," Dmitri said. "Whoever this is, they're persistent. Or desperate." "You think it's a trap?" "Probably. But it might also be someone trying to reach out. Someone inside Kang's operation who wants out." "That's a hell of a gamble." "Everything about this is a gamble." Adrian checked his watch. 6 hours until the meeting. "I'm going." "That's stupid." "Yeah, but I'm running out of options. If there's even a chance this person has useful information, I have to take it." Dmitri shook his head. "At least let me send backup, someone watching from a distance." "Fine. But they stay back. If this person sees a crowd, they'll bolt." "What are you going to tell Mina?" "Nothing. Not until I know what this is." She's not going to like that. She doesn't have to like it. She just has to stay safe. Adrian left his apartment and headed back to Queens. The safe house was quiet when he arrived. Jinho was asleep on the couch, wrapped in blankets. Mina sat at the small kitchen table, staring at her phone. "Any news?" she asked without looking up. "Lee's going to make an announcement. He's cutting ties with Kang." Her head snapped up. "He agreed?" "Didn't have much choice." "What did you threaten him with?" "Does it matter?" Mina studied him. "You're getting good at this. The moral compromises. It's not about being good at it. It's about doing what needs to be done. And where does that end? How many lines do you cross before you're no different from Kang?" The question hit harder than Adrian expected. He sat down across from her. "I don't know," he said honestly. "But I know the difference is I'm doing this to free you, not trap you. That has to count for something." "Does it? Or is that just what you tell yourself to sleep at night?" Adrian didn't have an answer, because she was right. Every move he'd made, the blackmail, the threats, the violence, it all lived in the same gray space Kang occupied. The only difference was intent, but intent didn't absolve you. "Not really. I'm trying to do the right thing," he said finally, "even if I'm doing it the wrong way." Mina's expression softened slightly. "I know, and I'm not ungrateful. I don't want you to lose yourself in this. I lost myself a long time ago. This is just me trying to find something worth holding on to." She reached across the table, covered his hand with hers. "Then don't let go, no matter what happens." He squeezed her hand. "I won't." They sat like that for a moment, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down between them. Then Adrian pulled away. "I have to go out tonight. A meeting." "With who?" "I don't know yet. Someone who claims they have information." "That sounds like a trap." "Probably is, but I'm going anyway." "Adrian, I'll be careful. I'm bringing backup. But I need you to stay here. Keep the doors locked. Don't open them for anyone except me or Dmitri." "How long will you be gone?" "Few hours. I'll call when I'm on my way back." Mina looked like she wanted to argue, but she just nodded. "Be safe. Always." He left before she could see the doubt in his eyes. Pier 17 was a sprawl of old warehouses and shipping containers, most of them abandoned. The Hudson stretched out dark and cold, reflecting scattered lights from the city. Adrian arrived 15 minutes early, parked 2 blocks away, and approached on foot. Dmitri had people positioned across the street. 2 of them, both armed, both with clear sightlines. They'd check in every 10 minutes. Adrian walked down the pier, hands in his pockets, eyes scanning. The wood creaked under his feet. Somewhere in the distance, a foghorn sounded. At the end of the pier, a figure waited, silhouetted against the water, too dark to make out features. Adrian stopped 10 feet away. "You wanted to talk. I'm here." The figure stepped forward into the dim light from a nearby lamppost. A woman. Mid-30s, Asian, wearing a long coat and looking nervous as hell. "Mr. Volkov." Her English was accented, Korean. "Thank you for coming." "Who are you?" "My name is Dr. Yuna Park. I work for Daniel Kang, or I did, until 3 days ago." Adrian's attention sharpened. "Why'd you leave?" "Because I finally understood what I was part of, and I couldn't do it anymore." "What were you part of?" Yuna hesitated. Then she said, "I'm a psychologist. Kang hired me 5 years ago to work with his acquisitions, people he trapped, people he controlled. My job was to keep them compliant, to break down their resistance without physical violence." Adrian felt cold settling in his chest. "You're talking about Mina." "She was one of many, but yes, I worked with her for 2 years before she escaped." "And you helped him keep her trapped?" "Yes." Yuna's voice cracked. "I told myself I was just doing my job, that I was helping people adjust. But I was wrong. I was part of the system that destroyed them." "So why are you here now?" "Because Kang is planning something worse than anything he's done before. And I can't let it happen." "What's he planning?" Yuna pulled out a folder from inside her coat. She handed it to Adrian. Inside were documents, emails, flight records, photographs. "Kang's not just trying to get Mina back," Yuna said. He's planning to make an example of her, to show everyone else who's ever thought about running what happens when you defy him. Adrian's jaw clenched. What kind of example? He's bringing people here, not just hired muscle, important people, investors, political allies. He's going to stage a public retrieval. Force Mina to come back in front of witnesses, humiliate her, break her completely. When? 2 days from now. He's arranged a private event at a hotel in Manhattan, the Belmont, top floor, invitation only. He's telling everyone it's a business dinner, but it's a trap. Adrian flipped through the documents. Everything Una said checked out. Flight manifests showing arrivals from Seoul, hotel reservations, catering orders for a private event. Why are you telling me this? Adrian asked. Because I can't live with what I've done, and because someone needs to stop him. Yuna's eyes were wet. I've spent 5 years helping Kang destroy people. I can't undo that, but maybe I can prevent one more. You know what he'll do to you if he finds out you betrayed him. I know, but I'd rather die trying to do the right thing than live as a coward. Adrian studied her. She was scared, desperate, but she was also telling the truth. He could see it in her eyes. What do you want from me? He asked. Stop him, whatever it takes. Don't let him hurt Mina again. I'm already doing that. Then keep doing it, because if he gets her back, she won't survive. Not mentally, not emotionally. He'll break her until there's nothing left. Adrian closed the folder. Thank you for this. Don't thank me. Just make sure it counts. Una turned to leave, but Adrian stopped her. Where will you go? Away, far away. I have family in Canada. I'll disappear. Kang will look for you. I know, but maybe by the time he does, this will all be over. She walked away, disappearing into the shadows between shipping containers. Adrian stood there for a moment, holding the folder, feeling the weight of what he'd just learned. 2 days. Kang was making his move in 2 days, which meant Adrian had to make his first. He pulled out his phone and called Dmitri. Get everyone together. We need to meet, now. An hour later, they were gathered in Adrian's apartment. Dmitri, Marcus Chen, Elena Volkov, and 2 of Adrian's security team. He laid out the documents Una had given him. Kang's planning a public confrontation, Adrian said, 2 days from now at the Belmont Hotel. He's bringing in witnesses, wants to make a show of taking Mina back. Marcus whistled low. That's bold and stupid. If he does that in New York, he's risking federal attention. He doesn't care. This is about pride now, about sending a message. Elena leaned forward. So what's the play? We can't let him get near Mina. We won't. But we also can't just hide her. Kang will keep coming. We need to end this, permanently. How? Dmitri asked. Adrian had been thinking about this since leaving the pier. There was only one move that made sense. Only one way to force Kang's hand. We turn the trap around, he said. Kang's expecting a show. We give him one, but on our terms. Explain, Marcus said. We leak information that Mina will be at a different location, somewhere public, somewhere Kang can't control. We make him think she's vulnerable. And when he shows up with his entourage, we expose him. Get everything on camera, his threats, his coercion, everything. That's risky, Elena said. If it goes wrong, we're no worse off than we are now. But if it works, we destroy his reputation, make him toxic, force his investors to abandon him. Without their support, he's just a man with an obsession, and obsessed men make mistakes. Dmitri was shaking his head. You're talking about using Mina as bait. No, I'm talking about giving her a chance to fight back, on her terms, in front of the world. She'll never agree to it. Then I'll convince her. The room went quiet. Everyone was looking at him like he'd lost his mind. Maybe he had. This is insane, Marcus said finally. You're gambling with her life. I'm gambling with all our lives, but it's the only move that ends this. What if Kang doesn't take the bait? Elena asked. He will, because he can't help himself. Men like Kang don't walk away when they think they're about to win. They double down. And if he brings violence, then we bring more. Adrian looked around the table. I'm not ordering any of you to help with this, but I'm asking, because I can't do it alone. One by one, they nodded. Reluctant, worried, but committed. Okay, Dmitri said. What's the location? Somewhere with witnesses, cameras. Somewhere Kang can't make this disappear. Adrian thought for a moment. The park. Central Park. Near the Bethesda fountain. Public. Visible. Hard to control. When? Tomorrow night, before Kang's event. We move first. That doesn't give us much time to prepare. It's enough. Dimitri, you handle logistics. Get cameras set up. Make sure we've got everything documented. Marcus, I need your people on security, positioned around the fountain, armed but discreet. Elena, I need you ready to file legal complaints the moment this goes down. Everything Kang says, everything he does, it all becomes part of a legal record. What about Mina? Marcus asked. Have you told her yet? No, but I will. She's going to hate this. I know. Adrian started to gather the documents, but Elena stopped him. Adrian, be honest. What are the odds this works? He met her eyes. 50-50. Maybe less. And if it fails, then we fight our way out and figure out plan B? There is no plan B? I know, Elena sighed. You're either the bravest person I know or the most reckless. Can it be both? She almost smiled. Just don't get yourself killed, or her. Doing my best. The meeting broke up. People filed out, already making calls, setting things in motion. Dimitri stayed behind. You really think this will work? He asked. It has to. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got. Dimitri clapped him on the shoulder. Then I hope you're right, because if you're wrong, we're all going down with you. Story of my life. After Dimitri left, Adrian sat alone in his apartment. The city stretched out below, indifferent to the small wars being fought in its shadows. He thought about Mina, about Jin-Ho, about all the people caught in Kang's web over the years. People like Yuna, who'd helped him. People who'd looked away because it was easier than fighting back. He thought about the choices that led him here. The violence, the compromises, the slow erosion of whatever moral code he'd started with. But he also thought about what Mina had said, that intent mattered, that trying to do the right thing, even the wrong way, counted for something. He wasn't sure if he believed that, but he wanted to. And maybe that was enough. Boss. He went back to the safe house just after midnight. Mina was still awake, sitting at the kitchen table with cold coffee and worried eyes. You're back, she said. Relief flooded her voice. Told you I would be. What happened? Who did you meet? Adrian sat down across from her. Someone from Kang's organization. A psychologist named Yuna Park. Mina's face went white. Yuna? She was there? You know her? She worked with me for 2 years, tried to convince me I was happy, that I belonged with Kang. Mina's hands clenched. Why would she contact you? Because she's done. She's leaving. But before she did, she gave me this. He showed her the documents. Mina read through them, her expression darkening with each page. He's really doing this, she whispered, making a show of it. Yeah, but we're not going to let him. How do we stop him? Adrian took a breath. By turning it around. By making him come to us. On our terms. He explained the plan, the leak, the fountain, the cameras. Mina listened without interrupting, her face unreadable. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. You want to use me as bait, she said finally. I want to give you a chance to face him, in public, where he can't hide, where the world can see what he really is. And if he brings violence, then we're ready. I'll have people positioned everywhere, armed, watching. People could get hurt. They could, but they're choosing to be there, same as you. Mina stood, paced to the window. Outside, the street was empty, lit by dying streetlights. I've spent 3 years running, she said quietly, hiding, pretending to be someone else. I'm so tired of it, Adrian, so tired of being afraid. Then don't be afraid, be angry, use it. She turned to look at him. What if I freeze? What if I see him and I can't? You won't freeze. I've seen you fight. You're stronger than you think. But what if I'm not? What if he gets to me and I break? Adrian crossed to her, put his hands on her shoulders. Then I'll be right there. And I won't let him take you, I promise. Mina's eyes searched his, looking for certainty, for guarantees he couldn't give. Okay, she said finally. I'll do it. You're sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Adrian pulled her into a hug. She held on tight, shaking slightly. He could feel her fear, her exhaustion, but also her determination. We're going to end this, he said quietly. Tomorrow night, one way or another. I hope you're right. So do I. They stayed like that for a moment. Then Mina pulled back, wiping her eyes. I should tell my grandfather, she said. He's not going to like it. I know, but he deserves to know. They woke Jinho gently. The old man listened to the plan with a deepening frown. This is dangerous, he said when Adrian finished. Too dangerous. It's the only way, Mina said. If we keep running, Kang will keep chasing. This ends it. Or it gets you killed. Maybe. But at least I'll be making the choice. Not him. Jinho looked at Adrian. Can you protect her? I'm going to try. That's not good enough. It's all I can offer. The old man was quiet. Then he reached out, took Mina's hand. I've already lost so much. Your parents, your freedom. I can't lose you too. You won't. Mina squeezed his hand. I'm stronger than I was, and I'm not alone anymore. Jinho's eyes glistened. Promise me you'll be careful. I promise. He pulled her into a hug. Over her shoulder, he looked at Adrian. Bring her back, he said quietly. Whatever it takes. I will. The next day moved in a blur. Dmitri coordinated logistics, cameras hidden around the fountain, audio equipment, drone coverage from above. Marcus positioned his security team in plain clothes throughout the park. Elena prepared legal documents, ready to file the moment Kang made a threat. Adrian spent the afternoon with Mina, going over the plan. What she'd say, how she'd position herself, what to do if things went wrong. Just remember, he said, this is about exposure. Getting him on camera, making him show his true face. You don't have to fight him, just stand your ground. And if he grabs me, he won't get that close. I'll be 10 feet away the whole time. What if he has people in the crowd? So do I. More of them. Better armed. Mina nodded, but her hands were shaking. I'm scared. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Easy for you to say. I'm scared too. She looked at him, surprised. Really? Yeah, because if this goes wrong, I lose someone I care about, and I've lost enough people already. Mina's expression softened. When this is over, if we survive, what happens to us? Adrian hadn't let himself think that far ahead. I don't know. What do you want to happen? I want to stop running. I want to build a life that's mine, not defined by Kang, not defined by fear. Then that's what you'll do. Will you be part of it? Adrian was quiet. He thought about his life, the violence, the compromises, the constant weight of watching his back. He thought about what it would mean to step away from that, to choose something different. I'd like to be, he said finally. Mina smiled. It was small, fragile, but real. Then let's make sure we both survive tonight. Deal. They arrived at Central Park just after sunset. The fountain was already busy. Tourists taking photos, street performers, couples walking hand in hand. Normal life continuing, unaware of the trap being set. Dmitri had positioned cameras in trees, on benches, hidden in backpacks carried by his people. Everything would be recorded. Everything would be documented. Marcus's security team fanned out, blending into the crowd. Adrian counted 12 of them, maybe more he couldn't see. He walked with Mina to the fountain. She looked pale but determined, hands steady now. You ready? He asked. As I'll ever be. Remember the signal. If things go bad, I'll give you the signal and you run. Don't look back. Just run. What's the signal? I'll call your name. When you hear it, move. Mina nodded. She took a position near the fountain's edge, visible but not isolated. Adrian stood 10 feet away, close enough to intervene, far enough not to crowd her. And then they waited. The sun set. The park lights came on. Crowds thinned slightly but didn't disappear. Adrian checked his watch. 8:30. Dmitri had leaked the information to one of Kang's known associates. If the bait had worked, Kang would come. If. At 8:45, Adrian's phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Movement on the west side. Multiple vehicles. Looks like our guy. Adrian's pulse quickened. He caught Mina's eye, nodded once. She straightened, bracing herself. 3 black SUVs pulled up on the street bordering the park. Doors opened. Men in suits stepped out. And then, finally, Daniel Kang himself. He was taller than Adrian expected. Mid-40s, expensive suit, moving with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. His face was handsome in a cold, sculpted way, empty eyes that cataloged everything. He spotted Mina immediately, walked toward her with 4 men flanking him. Adrian moved closer, protective instinct overriding everything else. Kang stopped 5 feet from Mina. He looked at her the way someone might look at a stolen painting finally recovered. Mina. His voice was smooth, accented. It's been a long time. Not long enough, Mina said. Her voice was steady. You've caused a lot of trouble. Running, hiding, making me chase you across continents. I didn't ask you to chase me. I asked you to let me go. You're my wife. You don't get to decide that. I was never your wife. I was your prisoner. Kong's expression didn't change. You belong to me. You still do. And now you're going to come back, voluntarily or otherwise. I'm not going anywhere with you. You don't have a choice. Adrian stepped forward. Yeah, she does. Kong's eyes shifted to him. Cold assessment. And you are. The person who's been dismantling your empire piece by piece. Recognition flickered across Kang's face. Adrian Volkov, I've heard about you. You've made yourself quite the nuisance. That's the goal. Do you have any idea who you're dealing with? A man who treats people like property. A man whose investors are abandoning him. A man who's about to lose everything. Kang smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Is that what you think? That you can threaten me? Pressure me into walking away? I think I already have. Lee Sung-min cut ties with you yesterday. 2 others followed today. Your financial backing is crumbling. Money is replaceable. Pride is not. Then you're even more of a fool than I thought. Kang's jaw tightened, the first crack in his composure. You have no idea what you've started. I have resources you can't imagine, connections that reach further than you can comprehend, and now that you've involved yourself, you've made yourself a target. I'm fine with that. Are you fine with everyone you care about being targets too? Kang glanced at Mina. Because that's what happens now. Not just her, everyone around you. I'll dismantle your life the way you tried to dismantle mine. Adrian felt rage building in his chest, but he kept his voice level. You're welcome to try, but right now you're standing in a public park, threatening people on camera. Everything you've said in the last 2 minutes has been recorded, and by tomorrow, it'll be on every news outlet in the city. Kang's expression flickered, uncertainty. He glanced around, finally noticing the cameras. The people watching, the phones out. You think this matters? He said, but his voice was less certain now. You think public opinion will stop me? No, but it'll make you toxic. Your investors won't just abandon you. They'll run. Your political connections will disavow you. You'll be radioactive. And without them, you're just a man with money, and money can't buy back reputation. Kang stared at him. The mask was slipping now. Adrian could see the calculation happening behind those empty eyes. Then Kang turned back to Mina. Come with me now, and I'll forget all of this. You, your grandfather, this man. Walk away and it ends. No, Mina said firmly. It ends when you leave me alone, permanently. That's not an option. Then we're done talking. Kang's hand moved toward his jacket. Adrian tensed, ready to intervene. But Marcus's people were already moving, closing in from all sides. Kang's men noticed. Hands went to weapons. The crowd around the fountain scattered, people screaming. Stand down, Marcus called out, weapon drawn. All of you, hands where we can see them. For a moment, everything hung on a knife's edge. Then Kang raised his hand. His men froze. This isn't over, Kang said quietly. Looking at Mina, you belong to me, and I will get you back. No, Mina said. I don't. I never did. And I never will. She stepped closer to him, close enough that Adrian's instinct screamed to pull her back. But he didn't, because he understood what she was doing. You don't have power over me anymore, Mina said. Her voice was strong now, clear. You can chase me, threaten me, spend all your money hunting me, But you can't control me. That's what you can't stand, isn't it? That I chose to leave. That I chose myself over you. Kong's face twisted, rage breaking through the mask. You made a mistake running from me, he hissed, and you'll spend the rest of your life paying for it. Maybe, Mina said, but at least it'll be my life, not yours. She turned her back on him, walked toward Adrian, didn't look back. Kang stood there, surrounded by cameras and witnesses and the collapse of his carefully controlled world. Then he turned and walked away. His men followed. The SUVs pulled away from the curb, and just like that, it was over. Adrian caught Mina as her knees buckled. She was shaking, adrenaline draining out all at once. You did it, he said quietly. You stood up to him. Is it really over? Her voice was small. The hard part is, the rest is just cleanup. Dmitri approached, phone in hand. We got everything, every word, every threat. It's already uploading to secure servers. Send it to Elena. She'll know what to do with it. Marcus was coordinating his people, making sure the park was clear. The crowd had mostly dispersed, leaving just the security team and a few confused tourists. Adrian guided Mina to a bench. She sat heavily, head in her hands. I thought I'd feel different, she said, relieved. But I just feel empty. That's normal. You've been running for 3 years. Your body doesn't know what to do without the adrenaline. What happens now? Now we make sure Kang can't come back. Elena files legal complaints. We leak the footage to news outlets. We make his threats public. And we watch his empire crumble. And if he tries again? He won't. Not once this hits the news. He'll be too busy trying to save what's left of his reputation. Mina looked up at him. You really think it's over? I think you're free. Maybe not completely. Maybe not forever. But right now, in this moment, you get to choose what happens next. And that's more than you had yesterday. She nodded slowly. Then she stood. I want to see my grandfather. Tell him I'm okay. Let's go. They walked through the park together. Behind them, Dmitri and Marcus's people were cleaning up, erasing evidence of what had happened, making sure nothing traced back to them. The city kept moving around them, cars honking, people laughing, life continuing, indifferent and relentless. But for Mina, something had shifted. Adrian could see it in the way she walked. Head up, shoulders back, not running anymore, just walking forward. 2 weeks later, the fallout was still spreading. The footage from Central Park had gone viral. News outlets picked it up. Legal analysts dissected Kang's threats. Investors publicly distanced themselves. Political allies denied ever knowing him. Kang's empire didn't collapse overnight, but it cracked. Investigations opened. Bank accounts froze. Partnerships dissolved. Elena had filed complaints with multiple agencies, FBI, immigration, international human rights organizations. The legal machinery was slow, but it was moving, and Kang himself had gone silent, retreated to Seoul. No public statements, no threats, just silence. Adrian stood in his apartment watching the news coverage, feeling something close to satisfaction, not complete, not perfect, but enough. His phone rang. Mina. Hey, he answered. Hey, you busy? Never too busy. I wanted to thank you for everything. You already did. I know, but I wanted to say it again. You gave me my life back. Adrian didn't know how to respond to that, so he just said, What are you going to do with it? I don't know yet. My grandfather wants to go back to Korea. Says he's tired of hiding, but I think I'll stay here, start over, for real this time. Under your real name? Yeah, Mina Yoon. It's been a long time since I used it. It suits you better than Lena Voss. She laughed. Probably. What about you? What's next for Adrian Volkov? He looked around his apartment. The corner table habits, the constant vigilance, the life built on watching his back. I don't know, he admitted. Maybe something different. Different how? Maybe something that doesn't require so much looking over my shoulder. Maybe something that feels less like survival and more like living. That sounds nice. Yeah, it does. They were quiet for a moment. Then Mina said, I meant what I said about wanting you to be part of what comes next. I meant it too. So what does that look like? Adrian thought about that. about stepping away from the violence and the compromises, about choosing something different, something better. "I guess we figure it out together," he said. "I'd like that." "Me too." After they hung up, Adrian sat in the silence of his apartment. The city stretched out below, full of possibility and danger in equal measure. He thought about the choices that led him here, the lines he'd crossed, the compromises he'd made. He thought about Mina standing up to Kang, choosing herself over fear. He thought about what it meant to do the right thing the wrong way, and whether that absolved you or just left you with scars you couldn't see. He didn't have answers. Maybe there weren't any. Maybe you just kept moving forward, making choices, hoping they added up to something worth the cost. But for the first time in a long time, Adrian felt like maybe, just maybe, he was moving toward something instead of away from it. And that was enough. He stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, Mina was building a new life. Jinho was planning to go home. Kang was watching his empire crumble. And Adrian Volkov was learning what it meant to stop surviving and start living. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was real. And sometimes real was all you could ask for. He pulled out his phone and sent Mina a text. "Dinner tomorrow? My treat." Her response came back almost immediately. "It's a date." Adrian smiled, set down his phone, and for the first time in years he slept without checking the exits. Because sometimes the only way to stop running was to choose to stand still, to choose trust over fear, to choose the possibility of something better over the certainty of survival. And maybe that was the real victory. Not destroying Kang, not exposing his empire, but choosing to believe that people could change, that scars could heal, that running could end, that freedom wasn't just about escaping what held you back, but about choosing what pulled you forward. Adrian had spent his whole life fighting for control, building walls, watching exits. But maybe the strongest thing he could do was let those walls down. Stop watching his back. Trust that someone else would be there to catch him if he fell. It was terrifying. It was uncertain. It was everything he'd spent years avoiding, but it was also hope. And hope, he was learning, was worth the risk.